Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Colorado State University Pueblo's 2013 State of the University Address. The title of this address, How Will America Pay for College, reflects the purpose of my speech today, which is twofold. One, to discuss the landscape of higher education at the national level, while contextualizing CSU-Pueblo's own environment within that landscape. CSU-Pueblo is an outstanding institution, but we need to understand how it exists within a larger framework. We will highlight strategies today that the institution has taken to meet the challenges higher education now faces. To understand those challenges, it is important to hear the American public's perceptions of and reactions to higher education. A 2013 study conducted by Sallie Mae revealed that 85% of families strongly agree that college is an investment in their child's future, and that 92% of families with students pursuing a bachelor's degree believe it will take 5 years or less to earn that degree. Despite those beliefs, American families do not think strategically about paying for their child's education. For example, 6 out of 10 families do not have a financial plan to pay for all years of college prior to their student enrolling in an institution. More families, 65%, use grants and scholarships to fund college than any other source of funding. Parents have reduced the share they contribute to college expenses to 27% in 2013 from 37% in 2010. Families have adjusted to a new post-recession reality by adopting a new cost consciousness when paying for college. They are looking for lower tuition, lower student fees, and considering having their child stay at home. In addition to the American public's perceptions and reactions to costs associated with higher ed, there are the realities of the economy. The following data from the Higher Education Executive Officers Association indicates that between 2000 and 2012, the following occurred. The Consumer Price Index increased by 33%. The median household income dropped by 9%. Federal and state government funding for education decreased dramatically. Public college tuition increased by 71% in that time frame. Americans owe almost $1 trillion on student loans, 310% more than just 10 years ago. According to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, state higher education cuts may harm students and the economy for years to come. States are spending 28% less per student on higher education nationwide than they did in 2008. Yes, that's when the recession hit. 2 states, Arizona and New Hampshire, have cut their higher education spending per student in half. Colorado has cut its state funding by 32% in the last 5 years, while Colorado colleges overall raised its tuition by 41% in that same 5 years. We have to find a way to educate our students. If we keep doing it on the backs of students, we will lose those students. Finally, the population of southern Colorado is declining, and currently there are fewer students graduating from high schools in the state. Many economic experts indicate that higher education is the next housing bubble. There are too many institutions of higher ed in this country which were built during economic boom times, and yet many students can no longer afford an education. The home mortgages approved with abandon in the early 2000s now take the form of student debt and loan default rates. The state of Colorado has the fourth highest default rate at 17% in the country, right behind Arizona at 23%, Puerto Rico at 22%, and Arkansas at 18%. One of the factors driving high student debt and default rates is that many students who enter college need remediation, which prolongs their education by a year or more. In fall 2012, 49% of first-time, full-time freshmen at CSU-Pueblo required developmental instruction. Very often, students who are less academically advantaged, first generation, or who may come from low-income families are likely to attend a 4-year regional comprehensive university. Yes, that would be us. Our students are more likely to need intensive tutoring, financial aid advising, early alert systems, and remedial education. The university is currently working on a new approach to remediation. Studies over the past 5 years indicates that advancing students in knowledge areas works best when the remediation is wrapped around content, not offered separately, and administered in shorter, more intense blocks of time. The faculty in all areas, but particularly in math and English, are at the heart of this initiative, which will reduce time to degree. Efforts such as these has been ongoing and require resources, which diminished during the recession. Since 2008, I have heard many individuals say or ask, is a degree in higher education really worth it? Well, I'll let you answer that question yourselves after you hear the following analysis. Defunding higher education jeopardizes not only a student's economic future, but the economic well-being of a community overall. Increasingly, college attainment has grown important to long-term economic outcomes for states and the nation. Most of us have probably heard the fact that a college graduate earns $1 million more over a lifetime than those without a degree. What we often don't ask is how a community, our community, benefits when more residents have college degrees. Research conducted at the University of California, Berkeley indicates that strong employers are attracted to areas with highly educated residents. They tend to pay educated employees competitive wages and better benefits. Do all good jobs require a college education? No. But a highly educated workforce increases an area's economic success. According to projections from the Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce, quote, the nation's education system will not be able to keep up with the rising demand for educated workers. By 2018, the country's system of higher education will produce 3 million fewer college graduates than the labor market will demand. As well, by 2018, 62% of all jobs will require some college education, unquote. Communities with educated workforces also experience lower crime rates, higher employment, and less reliance on state aid programs. Professor Kevin Duncan, our own Professor Kevin Duncan's 2010 analysis of the economic impact of CSU-Pueblo on our community illustrates the importance of keeping Colorado State University Pueblo financially healthy and viable for its community. The total impact of CSU-Pueblo on Pueblo County's economy is approximately $128 million annually. This impact is spread across many sectors of the local economy, with businesses not directly linked to CSU-Pueblo. For example, annual revenue in the local real estate industry is higher by about $17.5 million because of the university. Similarly, the local motor vehicle industry, sales, parts, and repairs, enjoys an additional $6.7 million in revenue and 86 more jobs. The local utility industry, telecommunications, natural gas, and electric, receives additional revenue of approximately $6.6 million because of the university's presence here in our community. Employment in the restaurant and broadly defined retail sector is greater by 257 employees. And don't forget, when national athletic championships are held in Pueblo, as was the case these past 2 years, the entire community experienced a positive economic impact upwards to $3 million. The typical CSU-Pueblo graduate who works and lives in Pueblo earns about $17,000 more than the typical resident with only a high school degree. With 12,000 alumni living and working in the county, and yes, we know where you are, the aggregate value added of a CSU Pueblo degree to income in the county is nearly $100 million. Finally, the income and employment of current CSU Pueblo employees and working graduates totals nearly $550 million and 12,500 jobs in the state of Colorado. These individuals contribute about $17.5 million in state income tax and $6.7 million in state sales tax annually. Folks, we cannot afford to lose our university or see its numbers decline. But that is exactly what is happening across this country to institutions just like ours. Articles in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal state that by 2014, traditional four-year colleges like ours will experience an enrollment contraction that will last for several years. Hardest hit will be colleges that do not rank among the wealthiest or most prestigious and are heavily dependent on tuition revenue. We cannot succeed in our communities without institutions like ours. We have a very special mission and basically work for those students who are middle America, not necessarily wealthy America. According to David A. Hawkins, the Director of Public Policy and Research at the National Association for College Admission Counseling, quote, "There are many institutions that are on the margin economically and are very concerned about keeping their doors open if they cannot hit their enrollment targets. In the face of challenges at both the local and national levels and the need for education, you may ask, what is Colorado State University Pueblo doing to mitigate costs and still make college an attractive option for our youth and those who wish to continue their education in order to advance in their professions?" I'll begin that discussion with an overview of our enrollment targets and retention rates for this fiscal year 2013-14, as both relate to budget and revenue streams. My cabinet members and I based this year's budget on a projected 2.85% drop in fall enrollment from last 2012. As of census date, our enrollment figures indicated a drop of 3% in headcount and FTE. So we are within the margin of our enrollment decline expectations, and we are turning that decline around from last year. However, our revenue streams are up due to the extensive marketing we employed this past year. Our international student population is up 10%, which brings in many more dollars to the university and offsets the slight decline in our enrollment projection. Our graduate student enrollment is up 6%, which also brings the university additional revenues. In other words, simple head count is not everything. However, it cannot be ignored. We must continue to strategically recruit potential students, retain those students who are already here, and increase the number of underserved students who are an integral part of the mission of this university. As such, Colorado State University Pueblo is focusing on the following initiatives: increase retention of first-time, full-time freshmen. We met this challenge for fall 2013 by increasing our retention by almost 6%. Retention rates had dropped last year to 57% due to the accounts receivable drop for non-payment. But through the hard work of those staff in first-year programs, financial aid, and from advising from our own faculty, the university's retention rate is now at approximately 63%. Our goal is to increase that number by 2 percentage points each year over the next 5 years to meet our long-term targets. Those of you who are in business know it's always easier to retain a customer than it is to recruit one. The same concept applies to recruiting and retaining students. To that end, communication with students has increased face-to-face and through email, texting, and website advertising. An early alert system is being put in place and will inform students of their academic progress each semester. We must continue to recruit Hispanic students and other minorities to our institution. Many of you might know this is National Hispanic Heritage Month. And this fall, over 31% of our registered students are Hispanic, the highest percentage in school history. In Colorado, 13.8% of undergraduate students are Hispanic. We at CSU-Pueblo are 2.5 times higher than that. And because we are an HSI, we have received over $12 million in federal grants since 2006. So when someone says, why is it important to have an HSI and what is an HSI, you can tell them that those students who are economically and academically disadvantaged for decades now have an opportunity that they didn't have before, and our university offers that opportunity to them. Some of our programs funded by those millions include our STEM programs, our Propel Center, our TRIO programs, and Veterans Upward Bound. Our President's Hispanic Advisory Board helps ensure our commitment to Hispanic students as well as all students and allows us to remain strong to that commitment. This fall, we added Ballet Folklorico and Mariachi as credit-earning courses through concurrent enrollment. If culture is embedded in our curriculum, we assure that our students in history, that our traditions in history are not overlooked, and our students will feel more comfortable that their own heritage is honored and taught at our university. Tradition and history come in many forms. Over 300 student veterans continue to be represented at Colorado State University Pueblo. We kicked off the new academic year with a President's Luncheon for our vets. Over 30 students and staff attended, and Senator Udall's office was represented to answer questions of national concern. In the past 2 years, CSU Pueblo has offered training sessions for faculty and staff to better understand the hardships and situations our veterans face. Campus leadership supported the construction of the Veteran Student Resource Center and has made commitment to sustain that center and support it with staff who can advise veterans on academic, financial, and career matters. Our new Director of Veterans Affairs, Laura Barella, and her colleague, Bob Ojeda, will travel to Denver to attend the annual Colorado Advisory Council on Military Education. Our financial aid office created a process by which veterans and other third-party students could receive financial aid in a timely fashion, which we all know they need. This process addresses the students' needs while adhering to the university's and the Department of Veterans Affairs fiduciary responsibilities. Regarding financial responsibility, it is the university's role to guide our students when they request student loans. Currently, the national student default rate is at 9.1%. Colorado's default rate is 17%, and CSU Pueblo's default rate is 15%. Default rates are bad for both the student and the institution. Institutions with higher than a 20% default rate are often red flagged and have to face the fact that aid may not be given to them. Students who leave us with high debt and worse, no degree, will in all likelihood struggle financially for a number of years. To address our default rates, the university has retained the services of a nationally known organization, SALT, a company that provides financial education to students and alums, helping them control their student debt and their overall finances for life. The risks associated with borrowing are discussed with proactive communications that are offered to every student who carries student debt or who might be thinking about it. SALT manages a portfolio of 1.4 million college student borrowers, and 94% of those loans are in good standing. We just created a partnership with this company this year, and these services are free to our students. The primary reason students drop out of school is because they cannot pay for it. Our job is to keep them here and financially healthy. Another strategy for helping our students pay for college is the revamping of our scholarship packages. With the help of our new marketing task force and our always hardworking financial aid office, a tiered scholarship program will offer merit scholarships to our incoming freshmen for fall 2014, and we are seeing extreme interest in these scholarships. Our recruiters are coming back and telling us that there's never been such interest in CSU-Pueblo. Students who meet the required academic criteria will have the opportunity to choose one of 3 new awards at the merit level. The Presidential Scholarship, $8,000 a year and renewable. Distinguished Scholar, $5,000 a year. Promising Scholar, $2,500 a year, as well as our existing scholarships. This initiative represents a restructuring of financial aid so that potential students will have a clear understanding of the new scholarships for which they are eligible. As well, the university provides work-study jobs to keep students on campus. We have over 500 students who engage in work-study. They help us in our offices, and they are learning things that they might never have been exposed to. As well, every one of our students, through his or her curriculum, work in an internship setting. So they also help the community while educating themselves. Donors in this community, as I have said in the past, are generous. They offer students private scholarships of over $1.6 million annually, and that's a lot for a small institution like ours, and we are thankful for that. The capital campaign, On the Move, is raising $25 million, $15 million of which will be dedicated to student scholarships. As well, we are in the process of constructing a new academic building, remodeling this wonderful building that we're standing in, and looking at developing our lacrosse and soccer fields. All of these efforts are exciting and will bring new students to us. And finally, our new concurrent enrollment relationship with the high schools will create a very impressive pipeline of our high school students in Pueblo County, and we look forward to greeting them this spring and in the future. Despite these efforts, there will continue to be some difficult times ahead for universities like ours, and I wanted you to be aware of that. So we must all continue to contribute, even though I know you have done so for this university all of your lives. I began my speech with the question, how will America pay for college? I hope this address has given you some insights into how Colorado State University Pueblo and its partners are working together to answer that question. In closing, I ask you, who is America? America is each of you sitting in this room. America is everyone attending this university. America is the city of Pueblo and the state of Colorado. America is all of us working together to educate our communities and to make this place a better place to live and learn. Thank you. Well, President Obama is usually whisked back to the Oval Office, but what I ask of you is if you would like to come up and ask me some questions or have some more food, please feel free to do so. And as Jen said, we will be having smaller stakeholder groups, and that will include community members. So a copy of my speech will be available, video and in text, written text, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. So thank you so much for coming today.